Okay, I think we're ready. Okay. It says, the word haboyim means that are coming. They're not here to stay. Like this would have been, if you would have said to there was a point that they're there to stay, when they stayed would have said, they came there. This is not, they didn't come there. They're only haboyim l'mitzrayim. This has a big effect on, I guess, when you move into different areas, you have certain minhagim, you move into a certain place. Are you there to stay or you're not there to stay? If you're not there to stay, then there's an idea you keep your own minhagim. If you're there to stay, you're mechuyev to mekabel new minhagim. This used to be very nageya years ago, when they used to have a lot of Yordim, well, when I was a kid, from Eretz Yisrael. On the east side, I would say they had their own minyan on the second day Yontif, because that's how many they had. They had about 50, 60. They've been there 30, 40 years, and they still consider themselves Eretz Yisrael, and they only kept one day Yontif. Why? Because we're not here. I have a business here, I have this, yeah. But as soon as I have the opportunity to go back, I'm going back. I'm not here. That's the point. So there's a big difference in taking attitudes that people have. If it's shot to say, I'm here or I'm not here. They came to Mitzrayim, they're not here. They're in there temporarily. Whenever they're able to get out, they're getting out. Therefore, we're not part of Mitzrayim. We're not interested in being part of Mitzrayim. And that's the message that we're supposed to get in all the Golusim that we go to, that we're not part of it. We're not there. We don't become Germans of the Mosaic Creed. We don't become Germans. And you see, in a way, I always just say it's anti-Semitic, but maybe we did it. I have no idea. Think about it. You say Irish American, Chinese American, Italian American, Greek American, American Jew. What's the noun and what's the adjective? And the first one, the noun is you're an American. The question is, what kind of American? So you have an adjective. When it comes to the Jew, the noun is the Jew. The question is what kind of Jew you are. So in one way, it's anti-Semitic. You put it down, the Jew, we're not letting you ever join America. You can't join America. You're a Jew. On the other hand, maybe we did it, and if we did it, it's good, in the sense that we don't become part of America. We're a Jew. We happen to be an American Jew. We have certain things that we learned here. We lived here for a while. There's different certain attitudes that we have. We speak English, whatever the thing is. So that was the thing there. Then it says, "Vayokem melech chodesh al Mitzrayim shelo yodas Yosef." Didn't know Yosef. What does it mean it didn't know Yosef? I mean, how long is it since Yosef did it? So Targum says, He didn't live up to the laws of Yosef. It's nothing to do with, of course he knew who Yosef was, but he didn't live up to the laws of Yosef. What were the laws of Yosef? I would think maybe to say a little bit different in the Medrash. You have a story in the Medrash that the people of Mitzrayim wanted to throw out the Jews, and Pari didn't, and they threatened him, and they immediately gave in to them, and whatever it is. I want to say from the Chumash Shiur the other way. And according to Targum, it's the other way. Pari was frightened for his position, and therefore he wanted the Jews out. But how do you get them out? The Mitzrayim said, what do you want from us? We're not threatened. We don't care if they stay here or not. They kick you out. That's your problem, not us. We don't own anything. We don't have anything to lose. So Pari says, okay, here's your properties back. now you have something to lose. You're the one that owns it. You're free men. You can do whatever you want. You have your own property. And that made them become, now we have something to lose. And therefore they got together. Okay. And they put on them to punish them or to make it hard for them. So they gave him what do you call it? Oh boy. So that's skipping, if that's what you want. Yeah. What's called avodah beferach. There is a custom among some Jews that when it comes to the word mora, they point at their wives. Now, normally, for a woman, you would slug them probably. But what's Hakapshat in the minig? I mean, so this is, we have a Talmud where Shemaya Matwais. So he gives a lot of drushes. This is one of his drushes. He asked this question, and he said, a pshat makes a lot of sense. What's considered the difference between a man and a woman as far as the way they do things and handle things? You have a bachelor apartment. What's it look like? Or the wife goes away for a weekend and leaves the husband in the house. Because all of a sudden he uses up all the pots and pans, all the dishes they're all dirty, everything's in the sink. He doesn't learn how to clean up. If he did need one plate, he'll wash one plate and he'll use it. But all the other plates will stay dirty. And his wife come back, she knows she has to clean it up. On the other hand, the woman, she cleans every single day. Not only does she clean every single day, she cooks every single day. And when you cook every single day, what happens? People eat it up every single day. So you have to cook again. And the place gets dirty, you clean it up, and then they get it dirty again. So the difference between a man and a woman is that a man, this repetitive job of doing the same thing over and over and over again, he can't do it. On the other hand, what's a man's job? He wants to create something. He wants to build something. He wants something to stand. That's the man's job. And the woman can do all this stuff of repetitive. On the other hand, maybe, so then what was the avodah perach for the woman? Could be that the avodah perach was that they had to do creative things, and that took a long, long time. It's not a one-day item. So they're used to doing things in short periods of time, whatever it is. And I think that's what he said. We pointed at the wives and saying, you're the mara, meaning your way of life is to us mara. Not you personally are mara, but your way of life for us is mara. So what did the Mitzrayim do to them? They made them build Pisa and Ramses. And according to the one that the way they built it, it was built on quicksand. So as soon as they built up, it fell in again, it caved in. So the idea, there was no accomplishment. They did it over and over and over again, the same thing. And that was the avodah perach. That's besides the fact that it was difficult work. I mean, that part I don't think anyone argues on. But I mean, on the concept of breaking the person, their concept was to break the person.
Why isn't the husband the mark?
I'm sorry?
Why isn't the husband the mark to the wife?
Maybe it is, but they're more polite. Who says the Agora out loud anyway? Right? Okay. The simon that Pari gave to the Mialdos, it's very hard to check on what actually happened. What happened? Yes, many doctors can't get a straight answer. The question is, Pari, the Gemara is this way, and this is what Pari told him the Aldes. A boy comes out facing down. So if you see a baby come out facing down, you kill him before he comes out. In other words, you're called born when the forehead comes out. As soon as you see the top of the head, the hair on the back of the head, you notice they're not going to see the forehead. Kill him before the forehead would come out. Why? Because then he is only an ubel. He's only a what do you call what's an ubel?
Fetus.
What's
Fetus.
a baby? Huh?
Fetus. Fetus.
I don't hear you.
Fetus.
A fetus, right? He's only a fetus till he comes out. The difference is, and they say on this, I don't know, who says it, but that the reason that Pari said, I can't do this, it can also be a murderer, right, is because a goy is chayiv for killing a nubel, for abortion. Goy is chayiv misa for abortion. A yid is not chayiv misa for abortion. He's not called a murderer by a yid. So therefore, he told them to do it. They choose, you do it. The shaila is before the baby is born. So that's why it was important to know what baby it is before he comes out. You'll see before he comes out what baby is. And a girl comes out face up. And as I said, there's different things, either because they turned the baby, they didn't really look ever, whatever it is. I had only one experience of a baby being born in the house and being caught, and the baby came out face down, and a boy. That's the only experience that I have. So that much at least I know is true. Whether the girl comes out that way too, I can't answer you, but the boy I know came out that way. Shaila, yeah. It says what will be. Anyway, so it says so the elders didn't do what he said, what he said to do. So it says Vayetev Elokim am Yaldes. The Rebbeinu Shalom did good to the Yaldes. Vayorev home Vayatzmo, the nation became very big. Vayi Kiyor am Yaldes Elokim, since they feared Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Vayaslam Botim, he made for them houses. Zokt Rashi. What is it saying over here? God did good for the Miyaldas. What did he do good? He built them houses. Right? That is not what it says in the Pasuk. He does this in another place too. But, I'm not arguing the Rashi. I'm just thinking of a little different pshat maybe. God was good to Miyaldas. The nation became big. What did the Yaldas want to do? They wanted the nation should be good. They didn't want to kill anybody. They wanted the place to grow. And that's what it did. It grew. Due to the Yaldas. Right? This is like telling somebody, you do a job, you like doing your job. What is the biggest success that you have? I keep my job. I'm successful in my job. I ask this all the time to the Bachim. If someone would tell you can be the biggest Rosh Hashiva in the world, but you're going to have to starve, all you're going to eat is bread and water, would you take the job or not? And everybody tells me yes, they would take the job. Why? Because they have the success. Success is worth everything. You see this by Mother Teresa, there used to be, and in my time, I think it was Dr. Streicher, I don't remember what it was in my time, that they lived among
Lepers.
among leprosy, who had leprosy. They lived among them, and they cured some people. They made life easier for them. Whatever they did, they didn't have to stay there. They were in danger of getting sick. It was probably a terrible job dealing with just these people. You didn't have anyone to talk to either. Why are you there? Because I'm successful. I'm accomplishing what I want to accomplish. When I want to accomplish, that's the biggest reward I can possibly have. And the same thing here. They did wanted to do, so because of that, the Hatava was the nation grew. Now there's the second part. Vayhi ki yorah mi'aldas elikim, because the mi'aldas who happened to do this, not just because they had rachmanis or became or other types of things, their own moral ideas, but they did it because the yorah elikim, because they figured God doesn't want this is wrong. And that's why they didn't do it. So for that, God did Vayaslam Batim. It's a secondary thing. He gave him Batim for that, not because of that they saved the kids, but they were Yoreh Lekim. That's why they got the houses. Okay. Vayelech Ishu Beis Levi, Vayelech Bas Levi. Doesn't tell us the name. We can talk about it here, we can talk about it later, but might as well talk about it here. We have already here. It doesn't tell us who they are. It could have just said the real truth. Vayelech Amram, Beis Levi. If you had to put in, instead of Ish, you would have to put in Af, you put in Amram. Vayelech Amram Beis Levi. Vayikach es Yocheved Bas Levi, or Bas Levi. They already, I don't even have to know our name. Maybe I told already his name. So we'll figure out who married who. And it would be great. You were talking about Moshe's birth here. I mean, it's something to be very proud about. You know, he gave birth to Moshe, so why isn't it mentioning our names here? When do you first mention our names in Parshas Shemos? You mention the whole yichus of Moshe Rabbeinu after he comes to Paro. Moshe and Aaron came to Paro. He thought, or they start telling us the yichus of Paro, of Moshe and Aaron. And in order to do that, they have to start from Reuven. So there's how many psukim they're doing for this? But it's been 2 words. They've added on the whole parsha to there. 28 minus about 15 psukim. Maybe not exactly. 13 psukim. You know, for 2 words, but he got in 13 psukim. I mean, each word in the Torah means so much. So why would I put in an extra 13 psukim? The Torah teaches us, Shivas Avot, that there's a very important chinuch. The Torah teaches us there's nothing to take credit for if you have kids with Yosef Kishrenis. In other words, the kid has tremendous intelligence. You have a kid that has a genius IQ. He's a tremendous speaker. Whatever he is, the kishronis are God-given. There's nothing for you to take credit for. What do you take credit for? You take credit for what is accomplished with the kishronis that God gave. That's what you take credit for. A lot of times, the reason that in our world that people take credit for the fact that the kid has the kishrenis is only to cover for himself. What do you mean to say? What I mean to say by that is, a guy is a balabos, an amoritz, right? And that doesn't mean all the balabatim amaratzim. The balabatim will be Talmidei Chachamim too. But I'm just saying to this, he's a balabos who happens to be an amoritz. But his excuse is not that you have plenty of time to learn. I don't want to learn. Nothing there. But you think that nobody. Look at my son. My son is a genius. He's a gadol hador. I could have been what my son is. I didn't want it. So that he thinks he's being good about it. He's being, he's getting a credit that he's a smart guy and all this type of thing. Instead, what he's saying upon himself, look what I wasted. The Benishim gave me all this kayach that I could have done something with it, and all I did was waste it. That's the point. So, it's an ego thing to say that I could have been. It doesn't prove anything could have been. So later on in Parshas Shemos, where they become the Mashiach Hashem, that time we can take credit. That time, you see, we did a good job. We raised them well. Look what became of them. That's when you take credit. Now, strange. I mean, it's not a strange story. So you have. He's a 6-month baby, Moshe Rabbeinu, and therefore they can't hide him for more than 3 months because they used to check up any pregnant lady that would come after 9 months. So it would seem to here that it's not really that common. We always think about, we always chayshid that the yibum by Avchone, always between the, maybe from the first baby or from the first husband and second husband, you have to wait 3 months. What's the point of waiting 3 months? I mean, it's a very rare thing that it's going to happen. It's a 9-month baby, so why we should be chayshid l'miyute, right? So that's what really you see the Gemara. And here it seems to say that the reason they got away with it was because it was a 6-month baby. That means the Mitzrayim didn't expect the 6-month baby. Could be it was common maybe, and when she had a pillow under her stomach, and whenever the Mitzrayim came, they knew afterwards maybe she gave birth at 6 months, and she says she's still wearing her, still fat as a, like she has the baby still. Okay, so they left, so they didn't bother checking on her. Not that they normally would say in a regular thing, let's see if that's your baby or it's a pillow. But in the case that they, could be, so why would they bother? So it probably is, so therefore they didn't bother. That could be maybe the reason. Okay. Now, one thing the Gemara seems to say that there's a shayla. What's the shayla? Vatishlach es la'amosa. Yeah. Vatishlach es amosa. He saw the box that made the mother put the baby in a box, put him on the Nile, and they hear a baby crying, but not a little baby, and they hear a big baby crying. I guess because to make sure they heard him who he is, and also the fact to show that it's a very developed baby, and he has, and what do you call it? He's very mature. You want to call it that way also. So. Basi Baspara is there. The Ganza story, she wanted to become a Jurist over there. At that time already, she went to be, or maybe she did become at that time. But anyway, she hears this baby crying from this box, and she sends either she stretches out her hand, and Yishlach has Amosa, her hand, because an Am was a hand, or it means her servant. Okay, so servant, it's simple. He sent someone else to get, no matter how far away it is. The Gemara says it was 60 amos away. And all of a sudden, our hand stretched 60 amos. What's that? Some kind of craziness like that. I mean, it's grotesque in a way. Also, whatever it is, she had control for 60. What does that mean, what a person should do? In other words, you're standing away 60 amos away. Why would you even raise your hand? Why would you even put your hand out that it would stretch? I mean, it's over there, it's 60 amos away. So you see from here, maybe you have to react as if you can do something, even though you're not in a position to do it, because God can put you into that position. And you can land up to do something. And that's the important part for us to know. That's what teaches here. Anyway, she goes and her sister's watching over there because Miriam was the one that foretold that Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be Moshe Rabbeinu. He's going to lead the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. And she wanted to see what happened with her Nevuah because of her. Amram took his wife back. They all originally divorced their wives. Because since they said they have to kill every baby, so what's the point of giving birth? It's not only boy babies. On that, Miriam tainted that you're worse than Paro. Paro made Xera only on boys. you're making an example that even girls can't get born. So you're worse than Pari. Of course, as long as you divorce your wives, there's no baby's going to be born. And then she told them also, the Nevuah, and then they all married back. She obviously believed that she was an Afiyah, and they all married their wives back, and he had Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Bein Shalom, and so what happened? So then Miriam wanted to see what's going on. Was down there when Paspali found her, and she runs over and asks her, "Would you want me to get a woman, a Jewish woman?" Because they tried to have him be by what do you call it, wives, wet nurses, goyisha, and he wouldn't drink. And she said, "Would you like me to get a wet nurse from a Jewish one?" She said yes, and he brought the mother of the Mishmot Yocheved there, and Yocheved was able to feed him. So now you had a tremendous job that Yocheved fed him. So in a way, we're making fun of the Mitzrayim here, right? The Bnei Shalom, you guys all thought you're doing bad, and you forced the guy to do this. We're going to make you pay for a woman to raise her own child. If this, you wouldn't have made the money, right? Why do you want to make fun of Vasya? Vasya is the one that's trying to save the kids. So why would you want to make fun of her? Not making fun of her, we're making fun of Mitzrayim, or we're teaching us about hope, or trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we put it in English. The Tochen. She had no hope. She put the baby in the water. At the maximum, at that point, she could only say, whatever happens is going to happen. That's all for the good. And what did the Rebbeinu Shem do? He took you out of your I guess, depression to a certain extent, and I gave you elation that not only do you raising your own kid, you're getting paid for it. That's the big deal. You're getting paid for your own. So in reality, this was a good thing. It was never a bad thing. The fact that they made this gzeira, and you put the kid in there, and they found the thing, that this was a good thing because you're going to get paid to raise your own child. And that's what the Bein Shem does. And then it says, "Gamzul Teiva." This was good. It was good the whole time. If she never would have had to put the kid away in the water, she wouldn't have got paid for raising her own kid. She'll raise her own kid, but she wouldn't get paid for it. You'll say, but she would have saved worrying. Worrying is because they don't have betochen. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen. What I'm thinking, but Meshach can save us. But Meshach doesn't want to save you. So what do you mean I had betochen? Betochen only means I trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I know He can save me, so I don't get betochen. Guy tells a person, you got 3 months to live. Right? If I don't believe in the Bnei Shalom, so I start worrying, and what do I do for those 3 months? I worry those 3 months until I die. I freeze because I'm too worried about, I'm going to die. You tell a Maimon that you have 3 months to live, he'll say, okay. And then he goes and says, what do I have to accomplish before I go? And he starts doing all the work. He starts making a B'Chachelim society in order to visit all the sick people. They're going to have these things. And he does a tremendous amount of things. And then he dies. Or he doesn't die. And he doesn't die. That's all it means. It means that I don't crack. Because I have betochen, I trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu that what He's going to do is the right thing to do. So this is the thing. We see that the Rebbeinu Shem can make it become a wonderful thing. Now another interesting thing I think that we see from here, we always, maybe it's a joke, but in a way I think it's a serious lesson. We always have a question, how can you raise a good child? Right? Okay. And by Moshe, we only found one Moshe. Now, what was the fact that happened to Moshe different than every other child in the world? we all know when a mother, a young lady, has her first child, she starts thinking, should I go to work? And then the babysitter's going to take care of my kid. Right? I won't get a chance to raise him really, and have the association with him, and all these type of things. And that's one thought. And the other thought is, if I would take care of the kid, I'd have to make my husband lunch, the kid lunch, have to clean the house, have to do all the other things that have to be done. This way, I hired a babysitter who's also going to be I guess the woman who takes care of the house, the housekeeper, and by the way, and she'll take care of the dusting, she'll take care of the cooking, she'll take care of everything that has to be done. But I won't see my kid. But at least everything gets done, and the kid gets full attention. Always going to be full attention. So which is a better deal? Moshe Rabbeinu had both. He was working for Cheved worked for Bas Pari. To what? To take care of Moshe Rabbeinu. So if Amram came home and said, darling, can you please make me lunch? We're going on a trip today. We got a lot of avodah. And he said, I'm sorry, I can't make lunch for you. I'm working for Bas Pari. I can't make lunch. With all the laws that we learned, how a poil has to work, you're not even allowed to take a break to bench completely, or to daven completely. So surely I'm not going to take a bench to how to raise or work or whatever it is. So therefore, I can't to make you lunch. I can't go make you lunch. I'm sorry, you'll have to make your own lunch today. If I wasn't working for Basia, I would do the lunch. Okay, so that's one reason. That's one thing. So she's a mother that's done a full time working, raising her own kid. And that's the best way. She has the full love of the mother and the thing there. The other way, the way in our times, unfortunately, when the mother does want to do that, and she hasn't got the money, but at least she wants to be the mother doing it, everybody dumps everything on this mother, and she never has a chance to study to be with the kid anyway. A mother, everyone says, who should be the head of Bika Chaylim? Oh, Mrs. Rabinowitz. She's not working anyway. She's home all day. She can take care of it. Okay, who should run the PTA? Mrs. Rabinowitz. She's home all day. Right? And then every little thing that we have in the community that has to be taken is Mrs. Rabinowitz. And she'll never have a chance to take care of her kid. So what's the point of staying home? Okay. Anyway, it says in those times, now a reason why Moshe Rabbeinu this whole thing happened by Moshe Rabbeinu. It should say also someplace. When they made the Egel, so they went and they said Ish Moshe is not here anymore, so we need an Egel. Why do you need an Egel? You have Aaron. So why don't you just say, Aaron, you take over from Moshe Rabbeinu? And we know Aaron, because Aaron is the Navi Mitzrayim, so we know that what his powers are and stuff, and therefore we should all have agreed to such a thing. So some people object and say, Aaron should be our leader. I remember Aaron when he was jumping all over the benches in the yeshiva. I remember Aaron when he used to sit in the back room there in the Yenta, they're doing davening. I remember Aaron, they wouldn't respect him. Right? So therefore they didn't make Aaron. So how come Moshe they did listen to? Because Moshe they never saw being raised. He was raised as a child in Beis Pari until he was 20. And at 20, he's chased out of Mitzrayim, and he becomes king of Cush for the next 40 years. In fact, now it's almost time to come back. So he was always royal. No one saw him ever. And when he came back as a royal. You can see the leadership qualities that he had in him, and so on. And that's what he always had, this mile of being where he was. So one of the there's an Ibn Ezra that says he went out. It says Vayava Yamahem. So normally the pshat is Vayigdal Moshe Vayetzel Lechov. The Jews. He went out to see what's happening with his brothers. Right? The Ibn Ezra says Vayetzel Lechov El Echov HaMitzrayim, to the Mitzrayim. In other words, who he hangs around with in the Passel thing there. What do they do? And it happened that the Rebbeinu Shalom made it that a Mitzri was hitting a Yid, and what he called at that point he couldn't even know what Taki was going to Echav Mitzri. Moshe Rabbeinu also had Bechira. If Moshe Rabbeinu had no Bechira, he doesn't get any reward. So what does it make of it? All the mitzvahs, if it all was done because the bencher made him do it, doesn't mean anything. He has to be his free choice that he did the mitzvahs. So obviously he had a different cheshbon how he's going to get the Jews free. He's going to become the Pharaoh because he saw he's smarter than all the other guys there, and probably he holds out, he'll be the Pharaoh, right? And all other things will not take hold, whatever it is. So he's going to be at that time, when I become Parei, I will then free the Jews. So it was a long-term plan, but it was the plan. So he has to stay on the good side of the Mitzrayim. So he went out to play with his Mitzrayim friends. And what happened? He saw this story, and he had to kill the Mitzrayim. And unfortunately, the Mitzri dies, and that's the problem. So now he has to run for his life, and his plans of being the liberator through being in Canaan is not in Eretz Yisrael is not going to happen. So he's gone. So it's interesting. Even this long-term plan didn't work out. Okay. Now, just for a little from the Doshim here in the Geya, just for we'll know later on that the Mitzri, I mean, he gets killed. We're not talking about him. He's the father, though, of the baby of the wife of this man, of Dassan's wife. Dassan's wife was married to Shlomish Bastivli. That means Shlomish Bastivli is Dassan's wife. And Shlomis Bastivli, why she called Shlomis? Because she always used to say hi to everybody, Shalom, everybody. And obviously, they don't talk nice about her. So if she's not a nice lady, what's the yichus of it? So why is what he called, what anyone want to know, that the name is Shlomis Bastivli? So I'm saying it could be this reason. Shlomis Bastivli was an anusa taki. She didn't do it on purpose. Her husband was supposed to come home. He lived with her. There's no lights in Mitzrayim. He couldn't afford even an oil lamp. And the man, the Mitzri who had a taiva for Shlomis, made sure that Dasa will be tied up at work, and he's going to keep him there, whatever, and put him in the hospital, so he'd have to stay there a week and so on. And he'll have his wife for a little bit of time. And that's what he did. And they have the baby, the Ben Ish Mitzri, that kid. That's we'll talk about when we get to there, brother. But that's the history of Shlomis Bastivli. Now, you'll ask me why she called Shleimus. We tell her what's wrong with that? Normally, I'd say it's a very good midah. You're very friendly. You're saying hello to everyone and so on. The kasha is, how do the bad people take it? In other words, good people, you open them up. You start the conversation by saying, "Hi, how are you this afternoon?" And the person will actually start telling you. And I start telling you, you'll ask him if they're making money, and then you talk about something else. You get around to talk about tzedakah in Yanim. There's a life to it. Yeah. I forgot what I wanted to say. Yeah. Yeah. How to handle it. Now, there's a chinuch. We're supposed to ask if we don't know what to do. We're supposed to ask our rebbeim, someone else, our parents, something. I imagine this scenario. That, the stories of, at least in my time it used to be, now it's the women go to do it to the men, but there used to be a woman would pass a hard hat, what do you call it, where they're building stuff, construction site, and they would start whistling and start saying nivul peh and things of that sort. And it became very inconvenient to pass. I mean, you didn't like it. It was not nice. It was, let's say, disgusting even. And they didn't know how to stop it. Shleimus especially said, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to make them my friends. So she came in and he says, "Hi boys, like some cookies?" And of course everybody jumped down to cookies and stuff like that. And the Take did not yell at her and do these things to her because they were their friend. But they also saw something that they didn't see with another girl. No other girl brings me cookies. So if she brings me cookies, must be she has an attraction to me. That's the case. So the reason that we're not doing anything because she has a husband. So I got to keep the husband busy, and then I'll go and I'll deal with it. And the reason she landed up into this trouble was because that's why there's a tain on her. Otherwise, what's the tain on Shleimus? It seems to be, like I said, that we point out who she is. There was only one in Klal Yisrael. What did she do? She didn't do anything. She did. She tried to do, and I wanted to tain it. That Nemesis, that's the Memtes Shari Tuma. They said the Yidden suffered in Mitzrayim, the Memtes Shari Tuma. And one of them showed them that they had to go out to 210 years instead of being 400. We talked about a few weeks ago, that the 400 is really, the 210 is really 400 from Yitzchak's birth. But it's 200 years of actually being 210 years of actually being in Mitzrayim. But there's a pshat was taking it that they really should have been there another 190 years. So why weren't they? Because if God didn't take them out of Mitzrayim now, there won't be anybody to take out. So he had to take them out now because the assimilation rate was so big, and the attitude rate was so big. So therefore, he had to take them out now. The lesson is they were in the Memtes Shari Tumah. I said, looking at it, did any Yid ever do Znus? The Torah just said that nobody did it, right? In fact, all the mishpachas are named with God's name at the end to tell us that not one was ever mizaneh. The only way is with Shleimus positively. We had no other incident in Klal Yisrael. So that's the case. So there was no znus, so it's anything, it's 47. It's 48 Shari Tumah. Then you'll say, were there murders in Klal Yisrael where the Jews didn't murder? So it's 47 Shalitim. So why do you say Mem Tat Shalitim? Mem Zayin Shalitim, if anything. The truth is, they didn't do any of this. But they had trouble. They got themselves in trouble by themselves. And that's because they had a Messiah that this is no good, or this is good. But how to handle it, they didn't listen to the Messiah. They didn't go to the rabbi, they did it on themselves. And sometimes they were successful and sometimes they weren't. And when they weren't, they caused a lot of problems. That's called being an Memta Shalituma. She, who really didn't do anything wrong, really did Maisa's Nus, meaning she brought it on herself because she did it without asking what to do, how to handle the situation. And the same thing applied to whatever else they did. And that's what Chatam Memta Shalituma. Not that they actually were active doing those things, but the idea is that they didn't ask their Rebbeim how to handle these things when they do arise to them. Okay. Anyway, Moshe runs from Mitzrayim and goes back to and Paro is now out to kill. First of all, he could be his competitor, right? Or like he's his son's competitor anyway. And therefore, he wants to kill him. Well, the fact that he killed the Mitzvah, he still knows he's a Jew. And the only reason he tolerates him is because Bas Pari found him. Although it's he can't take it away from her. But normally she would get rid of this kid, right? So this way he was going to go and kill him. Now, to get here, he went a long trip. He went to, as I said, to Eretz Midian. He runs away from Eretz Midian because he's put into a specific position of having to marry the old king's wife. I don't know why he waited 40 years, but then now he has to marry her. And for that, he runs away. He shouldn't be able to such a nasty. So then he lands up at the well in Midian. Now the question is like, what made him, in a way, give up right now? All of us, the Bnei Shalom is running the show. In other words, you wanted to stay in Mitzrayim, you had all dreams. I made you leave Mitzrayim. Now you came here, you're going to stay here now. It's pretty comfortable in Midian. When am I going to go back? I have no way. I'm going to take you, and you're not comfortable anymore. He knows he's going to leave. So now all the uncomforts was to make him leave. You did your job, you taught yourself to be royal, and now, so I want to tie that it says that I have no peh to talk to Paro. Who am I? Was the lotion in there. Says Amicha, I haven't got language to speak to him. What do you mean talking about? You know how to speak to royals. You're a royal, right? I said, no, you got the wrong royal here. I was a king. I knew how to speak down to people. I didn't know how to speak up to people. I don't know how to shmir. I don't know how to say please. I don't know how to say have Rahmanis. Why? Because I was the one giving out the Rahmanis, the judgment. So people begged me. I didn't beg anybody else. So I don't know how to do that. I have to train myself to become machniya myself to somebody. And that's what he was really complaining about. And the Bench made it that he should leave. Moshe understands this. So therefore, when he comes to Midian, the girls the nice Yisroi say to him that it was an Ish Mitzri. How did he know it was an Ish Mitzri? He's really coming from Kush. So why are you saying he's an Ish Mitzri, an Ish Kushi? He says, no, because he dressed like a Mitzri. So the question is, why would a guy dress like a Mitzri? 40 years ago, he was a Mitzri. Last 40 years, I was in Kush. So I should have a different type of dress. No, he always kept the clothes, the Mitzri clothes, because Rebbe has to go back. He's going back to show that this didn't have any effect on him. That being a Kush didn't have any effect on him. He's going back as who he was 40 years, whatever, 20 years ago. 40 years ago. That's why he put on the Egyptian clothes, and it was taken from Egyptian back to the matzah as if Kush didn't exist. That was not necessary. Just a point of teaching me, I guess, how he should treat Klal Yisrael, how to be a royal. You know, it's, yeah. Moshe comes, the Rebbeinu comes to Moshe. He's doing, he's being a shepherd, and he's near what do you call it, Har Sinai. And the Rebbeinu tells him, don't come up here to Har Sinai. It wasn't Yerushalayim, he said Har Sinai, you know. Where is Midian? Midian seems to be on the other side of the Yarden. For us, it's really this side of the Yarden. This side of the Yarden. And on the other side of the Yarden, and it's near Moav and Ammon, and that's where it is. So what would he be going to Har Sinai? You know how far that is from where he is? I mean, you don't take a flock of sheep over there. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. If we learn that Har Sinai is where the Arabians say it is, and it's in Saudi Arabia, then it makes sense. In other words, Midian is more south than pictured before, maybe right next to Edom, and right over there, you go a little further and you land up in Har Sinai and stuff, and over there was where everything was. So if that's the case, so that makes sense. So he's a Midian, he went to Har Sinai. Okay, but anyway, he says he wanted to go see why the bush lasting so long. Then it comes to be kuach with the Rebbeinu Shem for 7 days. And there's a, excuse me. Okay, we'll stop that part. I lost myself. Okay.
Now, what was the Vikuach?
Huh?
So she was after what's the Vikuach?
Between Moshe and okay. So we're going into what the Vikuach was, the way going down. So he's talking about different points. So one is, I'm going to send you to Parai, and you're going to take the kids out of Mitzrayim. Right? He also told them in the same thing, you're going to go to the Yidden, and they're going to go with them, right? Yeah. Yeah. Then, well, at least I'm going to take out my people, and I'll be with you, and you should go to them first, and you're going to get them. So he really thought that just like he went to the Yidden, they all listened to him. He didn't know if they would or wouldn't. He thought they may not. So he asked the Rebbeinu Shalom, So he made Moshe make the signs, and he does the nochash and the leprosy under the arm to show you that this is that he spoke Lashon Hara on Klal Yisrael. Because Klal Yisrael was ready to do it. It's going you just tell them the right words and right thing. They're going to follow you. They're going to come to you. So that happened. If that's what happened, so when I go to Paro, I expect the same reaction. Why? So why did God tell me to go to Paro for? You can take me out, but I'm going to Paro. What do you need me to go to Paro for? All of us, he wants to either give Paro a chance to do tshuva. He wants a point of that Paro, I guess the Paro to realize who they are, or he just wants to make me the shliach of how it's going to be done, but not that he needs me. He could take him out and move him himself, but that there's a lot of things that they followed me and they did this, so it shows the amunah that they have in me and whatever, and the Vanish a little. So therefore, there was a good purpose in it, but I expected the result to be immediate, and instead, what did Paro do? He made it worse for them. That's what my Paro has been made. So therefore, he was choished. A lot of his stuff happened because he wasn't really royal about it. And I think the biggest one over here, Vayicha, where is it? No, it's on the next page. It keeps going. This Vikuach goes for 7 days, but it's 2 pages in the Chumash. And it says, maybe 3 pages, and he says, after all the arguments back and forth, he says, Shlachna b'yad tishlach. In other words, so then Vayicha Hashem, Moshe ben Shem gets angry. In other words, before I don't get angry at you, you're arguing with me for 7 days. Bring me up this reason, this reason, this reason. I knock them all down, right? But then you come to the point of saying, without reason, Shlach b'yad tishlach. I can't do the job. Why don't you give the job to a guy who's been doing it all the time? Right? In other words, you want Aaron to do the job. That's what you're thinking. Why you want Aaron to do the job? Because you feel Aaron is going to feel bad because you're doing the job and he's not. Right? So he said at that time, at the point, Vayicha Hashem ben Moshe, eventually gets angry. So machlekes. Was it? Or you should be Kocha, I can't see without my glasses, or with my glasses, I can't say anything about my magnifying glass. The Achlekes thing of Yeshub ben Kocha and Yesi, I think, he said, really.
Shimon Bar Yochai.
Who?
Shimon Bar Yochai.
Shimon Yochai? Shimon.
No, it's Rabbi
Rashi sends who they are. I can't hear. So Rashi says who they are. Anyway, the machlekes is everywhere you have the Vayicha Raf, to show that there's a relationship. Something happens because of it. God doesn't get angry not for nothing, and when He does get angry, there's an action. So nothing happened here. The other one says, what do you mean nothing happened? Moshe lost the kahuna. That's it, loses the Loshin. He says, your brother, and who'll come against you? Aaron Halevi, right? Ochicha Halevi. So Rashi says, why does it say here a Levi? Why you got to tell him who he is anyway? It says, really, Aaron should have been the Levi and you'd be the Kohen. But now Aaron's going to be the Kohen, you're going to be the Levi. So that's the thing. So so you see, there was a punishment. There was a fact. He lost the Gunei G'dayla or the Ketuna. So what's Taka? And the other one also agrees that that's what happened. So if that's what happened, what do you mean? What do you say there was no Reishim? There's definitely Reishim. The kind is like this. Reishim is shot something bad happens. In a case where it's not bad, it's just the way it is. So, for instance, someone once gave the mashal, except it didn't fit by the particular mashal he gave, but it's good enough for now. That if the Moshe tells Moshe, the Betzalel Ben Uri is going to be Chur, he's going to build the Mishkan. So he's got to find the Betzalel and tell him he got a job to build a Mishkan. It happens he was his nephew, so there's no question he knew who he was. But I'm saying, but according to that, he didn't know who he was, let's say. And he goes unto people and he asks them, are you Betzalel? And they say no. Are you going to say that there's anything wrong by them not being Betzalel? Nothing wrong with it. You're not Betzalel. The Betzalel is the guy that's going to build a Mishkan. So the same thing over here. I need a kohen. The kohen has to be a person that's vakei shalom or tfeihu. Or if shalom with tfeihu. He's going to make it a yoyse shalom by your people, whatever it is there, right? That's Aaron's going to be. That's what the kohen has to be. In a way, a kohen has to be very naive, if you want to call it that. What do I mean by naive? Let's say a guy comes to you and he tells you, I'm very angry at Yankel because Yankel stole my wife. He made my kids go off the derech and I lost my parnasa. And I'm going to say to him, oh, forgive him. What are you kidding? Is any Havamim that's going to work? So let's say this, we would say to you sometimes, I'm angry at Yankel for doing, Yankel's angry at me. What did Yankel, why is he angry at you? Well, I stole his wife, I made him do off the derech, and I made him lose his parnasa. But I'd like him to forgive me. So will you please go ask him to forgive me? I said, how can I ask him to forgive you? I mean, you got to have 100% right to think to not forgive you. I mean, so why can I ask him to forgive you? You can't be Aaron anymore because you gave up on the thing. How did Aaron work his deal? He used to go from one to the other. I just get a little different than the Barai says mashma. I try to figure it into my lashon. I'll tell you why. The way we normally learn the story is that Aaron said we would see somebody, what do you call it? He'd go over to him and say, your friend wants to ask you mechila. And then he says, he does? Yeah, he's going to meet you at this and this place tomorrow. I then go over to the next guy and I say, your friend wants to ask you mechila, and he's going to meet you in this and this place tomorrow, right? Do you think that's going to work? In my mind, they're going to have a big fight. Why? They both get to that place tomorrow, and they're standing there, and one guy says to the other guy, don't you have something to say to me? So he says back, don't you have something to say to me? And then you have a fight again. I was expecting you to apologize to me, right? So you're not. So how did I make shalom? So I learned the pshat is like this, how we did it. You would see a man that's depressed or looking, sad, and he asks him, what's the problem? I just had my fight with my best friend. I said, okay. I said, you know what he did to me? He did this, and this to me. What a terrible guy he is. Okay. So Aaron asked him, you did nothing back. He did all those things to you, you did nothing back. Well, I did this, I did that, that. Don't you feel bad? You did all those things to your best friend? Yeah. I wish we did, I was able to make up for it. So you're sorry about it? Yeah. Okay. Goes to his friend and he says, your friend told me he did all these bad things to you and he's sorry about it. He says, you know what I did to him? I did this, and this to him. Are you sorry about that? He says, yeah. So then they both meet each other. Then they both grab him, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. And they're both kissing and making up. That's the way it's supposed to be. So it has to be able to make shalom, v'nish v'chaveirei, or v'nish v'ishtei. The way Aaron did it, he had to be naive that the guy's going to go for it. And you, Moshe, are worried about Aaron is going to be insulted that you're that guy. So once you're worried he's going to be insulted, you're not going to work that he's going to be understanding. So you can't be the Yosef Shalom. You're not going to do the job. So you can't be the Kohen. You can't be the Kohen. So it's not a punishment, it's just you're the wrong guy. That's all, you don't meet the qualifications. Oh. Sorry. A good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos, a good year. A healthy